We saw already Comcast acquire NBC. That's gone through a couple of years ago. Do you expect this deal to go through?
Well, the people we talked to do generally expect it to go through, although you saw a very loud pushback over the weekend of a lot of loud voices out of Washington, D.C. saying, wait a minute. I think in general people expect there to be a lot of concessions put on this deal by the regulators. You know, promises that they're not going to favor Time Warner's content, things like that.
Well, one of the issues that Donald Trump mentioned and then Bernie Sanders mentioned and also Hillary Clinton, frankly, is that it's too much power in too few hands. But these are two different companies. One's content and one's the pipes that will carry the content. Right. Do you see an overlap of, sort of power here?
Well, there's certainly a lot of power, but it's a vertical merger, not a horizontal merger, as the CEOs were saying yesterday. And in general, the regulators have been okay with vertical mergers.
And what does that mean? That means the pipes and the content.
That means if you want to buy your supplier, it's okay. You just can't buy your competitor.
What are talks of some of the regulations and oversight that they're looking for AT&T to concede in a deal like this? Because we saw there was some remorse over the Comcast transaction. So now, what do we think that they're going to have to give up in a deal like this?
Well, I do think there's going to be some promises about not favoring Time Warner's content, having kind of a net neutrality, the spirit of net neutrality, right, in the wireless world, about how they treat certain content, perhaps. I also think that Hulu is going to be a really interesting one. That was a big sticking point in the Comcast merger that got blocked recently, and Time Warner does own a piece of Hulu.
So in what way? Explain the Hulu.
Well, the question was Hulu, when the original Comcast-NBCU merger happened, NBCU had to promise that they were going to be sort of a silent partner in Hulu, that they were not going to be involved in making decisions about it because there was just too much power in the hands of this conglomerate. And, as some reporting that we did and others, they actually did weigh in a little bit in the strategy of Hulu, and so that helped kill the Comcast-Time Warner cable merger last year.
Do you think that this AT&T has the right view on the strategy here when they talked about, okay, we want to go after young people that are cutting the cords or are cord nevers, meaning never even have gotten a cable subscription, and we're trying to go where they are, meaning mobile. But they think that millennials still want those typical cable bundles, right, with their CNN, TBS, TNT, whereas Verizon has gone more the direction saying, no, they want original, interesting, different content, just little clips. Who do you think has the right strategy here? AT&T with going with the cable providers, or Verizon and going with those more untraditional content providers?
I think that AT&T's attempt to do a sort of a cheaper, smaller version of the old school bundle and this direct TV Now product that they're just rolling out is pretty smart, right? It's cheaper, but you still have everything you need there. And the great thing for the companies is if they give you a taste of this bundle, then as you go on in life and get a little more money, maybe you'll upgrade to the big bundle later on.
What about potential combinations in the future? Who is going to be talking to whom? And does this force a lot of other players to get in bed together?
Well, we saw, all the stocks of the other media companies going up on Friday. There's a lot of chatter around Discovery Communications. I'll be interested to see what you ask David when he's on here. The other freestanding ones like a Scripps or an AMC.
AMC, particularly with Walking Dead, and they own BBC America too. I mean, that's a content powerhouse. I mean, small, but still producing really through-the-roof content.
Totally, very desirable. I guess one of the questions is, can you survive out there as an independent company without bulking up? And I think a lot of people think you can.
Are there big concerns about the debt overhang of AT&T right now? I mean, we're starting to see the bond spreads actually widen out here, as well as AT&T shareholders sell off the stock because there's concern about the dividend. Has there been more chatter over the weekend about the shareholders not wanting this deal?
There were concerns, especially on Friday, about the debt situation, but I think, folks close to the company really believe they can handle it and they can keep their investment grade.
Well, we'll see about that, because it's not just the shareholders who may be saying, wait, this might be too big. But here's what the Trump and Clinton campaign said about this deal over the weekend. Listen to this.
As an example of the power structure I'm fighting, AT&T is buying Time Warner and thus CNN. A deal we will not approve in my administration because it's too much concentration of power in the hands of too few.
We've got to get to the bottom of them. Generally pro-competition and less concentration, I think, is generally helpful, especially in the media.
Well, these companies need to grow. How do you grow in a 1.5% growth environment without acquiring growth? And should these politicians be getting involved in the free markets like this?
I can't speak to that, but it's certainly going to be it has been a challenge for AT&T to figure out how to grow because wireless growth is stalled. They've bought DirecTV as a way to sort of go into a video strategy because their core business is really tapped out.
It's a leap. It's different when you have a presidential candidate who says, we'd review this, I have concerns, and I would shoot it down. I mean, he said point blank, this merger would not go through.
That's what Bernie Sanders said, too.
Yeah,
that's what doesn't even have the power to do that.
That you expected.
That's the insanity of this political season.
Yeah.
Well,
in terms of the ideology or lack thereof.
We've seen a couple deals be shot down by the regulators this year in the healthcare space as well as the energy space. So this is not uncommon right now for him to shoot it down.
All right, we'll be watching that. Thank you so much, Keach. Good to see you. Congrats on the story.